Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we're discussing a sitcom pilot produced for CBS, which aired in July of 1987 called Puppetman, which was produced and developed by Jim-Henson, but received lukewarm reviews and was not picked up as a full series. So why are we devoting an entire episode of our podcast to it? Well, since I suspect we'll have some new listeners this week, I'll over-explain the concept of our podcast. What we do here on Commitment is we are watching each and everything Jim Henson and the Muppets have ever done. We started way back with things the Muppets were doing in the 50s, like Sam and Friends and early Today Show clips. And here we are, over 150 episodes later, and we're just now in the middle of 1987. And since we discuss everything Jim Henson did, that means that when we reach the summer of 1987, it's Puppetman time. But this week, it's not just Sam and I subjecting ourselves to another unsold Jim Henson pilot, because we're joined by our very special guest, who you may know from the George Lucas Talk Show, or one of the hundreds of other comedy projects he has worked on. It's Patrick Cotnoir.
Saying yet another unsold Jim Henson pilot is the saddest sentence I've ever heard in my life.
He's done some stuff that, you know, you just got to shake your head and say, Jim, come on.
Now, are you guys, I mean, not to bring it down immediately, are you sad that you're seemingly running out of Jim stuff?
Yes, because we've glimpsed some post Jim content and some of the flailing that happens in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And while we have, gems like Muppet Christmas Carol, there's other not so shiny gems that happen. And so it'll be very interesting to see that pivot happen.
What is a not so shiny gem that you're not looking forward to?
I mean, this week really reminded me of the 90s Muppet meeting films that we get to, that they make some wild swings at some points.
But even by the end of the Muppet meeting films with Jim, they were rapping already. And that was, Jim rapping.
Yeah. It's really
Frank's
when you start to feel start to feel the era creep in, that you're like, oh, the Muppet Show feels like this timeless piece of media that is sort of a 20s thing, also kind of a 50s thing, but is made in the 70s.
But it's like edgy at the same time.
Yeah. But then when you feel like the 80s creep in or the 90s creep in, you're like, ooh, oh no, I don't like this.
These
and I feel
guys
like
are old men now.
Well, I feel like I have fond memories of Muppets Tonight as a child, but I'm worried about Muppets Tonight feeling very 90s.
Here's what I'll say. On the George Lucas Talk Show during COVID, we would do live stream shows. And for fundraisers, we would watch short-lived TV shows and have people from the show come on. And we did Muppets Tonight, and we watched the entirety of Muppets Tonight with a lot of people from it. And I'm very pro Muppets Tonight. I think it's fun. I think it's weird. I think there's a lot of new characters that I wish they didn't bail on. Johnny and Sal for life. I'm a big Johnny and Sal guy. I like Muppets Tonight. So I'm excited for you to rediscover it. It's obviously not the same thing as the old show, but it's I don't think it's as bad as the reputation suggests.
Yeah, I feel like I see clips every now and then with like a celebrity I haven't thought about in like 20 years, and I'll be like, amazing. That was pretty funny, and I can't wait to see that guy again.
I mean, I loved that show as a kid. I remember I have this specific memory that I've talked about in the podcast before of my mom and I were on a cruise on the Big Red Boat, which was the Warner Brothers version of the Disney cruise.
Yeah, the Big Red Boat.
And there was a night where I basically demanded that we be back in our cabin room by a certain time because Garth Brooks was going to be on Muppets Tonight, and I had to watch it.
and Chris Gaines. There were two guests that night.
And at the same time, young Sam was also watching that Probably. Yeah, at the exact same time we were both watching that.
I was in international waters, though.
That's true. That's true. You were committing crimes while you were watching
it. Patrick,
Yes.
I think a lot of our listeners probably know what the George Lucas Talk Show is. But for those that don't, I'm curious to explain to our audience who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you explain to relatives at holidays.
Yeah.
Who
it's a real problem.
What you do as a job.
Okay, here we go. Let's try to figure this out. I am a producer / talent booker / casting director, but then the George Lucas Talk Show is its whole own thing. So my day job is I book shows for a podcast network, a bunch of just getting guests on for different various shows, but then I also produce a lot of live comedy shows in Los Angeles and New York. But the George Lucas Talk Show is a show hosted by Connor Ratliff, who's a comedian and actor, and Griffin Newman, who's also a comedian, actor, and podcaster. And Connor plays retired filmmaker George Lucas, creator of Star Wars, and has a talk show and interviews real guests as himself, as themselves, not as himself. And we've had Seth Meyers on, we've had Weird Al on, we've had Whoopi Goldberg on, we've had Bill Beretta, we've had Brian Henson, we've had Kevin Clash, we've had Steve Whitmire, all of these people. And it's been going on for 10 years. It's very silly. It's all on YouTube. A lot of Muppet themed shows. We had Karen Prell on a few months ago when we were in Seattle, and it was so much fun. She made us puppets, and I have it on my shelf over there, and it's very cool. It's just a little sock puppet, but it's something where I'm like, well, Karen Prell made that,
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's people could check that out, and I always recommend, if you've never seen it, just find a guest that you like and watch it that way, and just buy into the fact that this is George Lucas and he's hosting a talk show.
Also, Sebulba's there too.
Sometimes, yeah. Sebulba, a huge antagonist for everybody. But yeah,
if you watched Phantom Menace and you were like, man, there's just not enough Watto here.
Yes.
And you want more Watto in your life.
Yes.
The George Lucas Talk Show is where you go for more Watto.
I do think at this point we sort of own Watto more than George owns Watto. You know what I mean?
Like I meant Watto. I didn't mean Sebulba.
It's okay.
I'm so
sorry. We talk
sorry.
about Sebulba so much.
Oh my
so
gosh,
it's totally
I'm
fine.
so sorry. I got my Watto and Sebulba mixed up.
I mean,
I'm not sure which nerd cred card to ding you there
Revoke.
for. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a George Lucas Talk Show nerd card or if it's your Star Wars nerd card.
I think so. I think Star Wars is what I'm feeling in my heart.
Yeah,
I was
think that's
picturing the right person, but
That's so funny.
the George Lucas Talk Show version of that.
My favorite is that you could still pull the name Sebulba.
I mean,
I think about Sebulba constantly. Yeah.
I also feel like I need to mention that I believe you're involved in one of the best episodes of television or anything ever.
I assume I know what you're talking about.
One Man's Trash,
Yes,
the episode of the Chris Gethard Show.
Yes.
We've talked about that episode, I think, multiple times on this podcast, and
we
have never spoiled the episode on here. We just encourage people to go watch it, sight unseen. They don't need to know anything. I'm curious, without spoiling, what your role in an episode like that would be.
Yeah, so I was what would I have been? I was the guest booker, I guess, at that point in the show. I worked on the Chris Gethard Show for almost the entire run. And at that point, I was in charge of getting guests for the show and just locking down celebrities and people to show up, which was difficult because it was a show that no one was watching. So unless they knew the show or knew Gethard, it was very hard to get people to come by as far as going through reps and stuff, because reps are like, okay, great, but how many people watch this show? And we'd be like, don't worry about that. That's not important.
They're all in the room. There's a bunch of people in the room watching it. Don't worry.
It's more of a live show or a radio show or something. I don't know. So I was in charge of getting guests for that episode. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Some of the people, all of the people involved in that show specifically were friends with Gethard. Some of them I got, some of them Gethard got. And that's what I say. But in charge of wrangling and in charge of, I'm in that episode a few times, just guiding certain people through the studio to avoid, the crowds and all that. But it's, I have a framed photo of it in my apartment. It's a big night for me and a big, like one of the most fun professional things that I've ever done is that show.
Yeah, I can't imagine the stress to make that episode work.
Yeah.
Must have been on a lot. But I imagine the payoff of that working the way it works out.
Yes.
It must have been immense.
only like 5 or 6 people knew what the payoff was.
Right.
You sort of had to have like code words.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to the listeners. I'm like vaguely trying not to spoil
No,
things.
I think this is actually better because
Yes.
if it is one of those things that I think a lot of times people recommend things on podcasts like go watch it, just go watch it. And it's like, okay, but for real, this is a real suggestion that like you don't even need to know Chris Gethard or any of the other people. You will know probably somebody on the show, but just go watch it. It's a good time, and I have shown it to multiple people who had never like heard of the show previously.
Amazing.
And this was their introduction to it. And they were like, what is this? This is amazing.
That's great.
Yeah. It's a wild hour. It's a really wild hour. And I'm happy that it exists, and I'm happy that people are still talking about it. You know, if that's the living legacy of that show, that's a pretty good legacy to have.
It also says on your website that you worked on Sesame Street at some point.
I did.
What did you do on Sesame Street?
Should I just give you the whole story? It's kind of a long story, but I think it's worth it. So when I was a kid, this is going to age me a little bit. When I was a kid, Carol Spinney's book came out, his memoir, and we lived in Connecticut, and he was doing a talk about the book at the UConn School of Puppetry. So we went down, my entire family, my grandparents, my parents, my sister, and I, like all of us went down to this thing. And it was in like a fairly small room. It was maybe like 100 people or so. And he read from the book and talked a little bit and then started taking questions. And this is all on video. And I'm so happy that this like footage exists. My dad was like filming it. I asked, do you guys ever give tours of the set? Right. And he goes, no, not really. But you got to know someone. And then he did a little wink. Right. So we go through at the end, and he's like signing all the books for us. And, you know, we talk to him for a little bit, we take a picture, all that stuff. We leave, we send the picture off to him so he'll sign it for us and get it back signed. And a few months later, I get a postcard in the mail, and it says, hey, Patrick, it's Carol. If you ever want to come to the set, here's my phone number.
Oh, my God. He gave you his phone number.
Yeah.
You got Big Bird's phone number.
Wow. I had Big Bird's phone number. So I obviously called him, you know, and set up a date. I went to the show when I was probably 13, 14, somewhere in there. Ended up going 3 times total while I was in middle and high school. Yeah. And then went to college in Manhattan. And and the first episode that I went to, they released on DVD. Like it came out as a standalone DVD, which is crazy because there's so many episodes, you know? So it's very cool to have like a professionally, you know, a good version of it, a good quality version of it out there. Went to college in Manhattan, and I had met Marty Robinson on one of those trips, and we had stayed in touch, and he was like, email me if you have any questions. I wanted to like be a puppeteer at that point. Like I wanted to like do something in that world. And I emailed him and was like, look, I'm going to school here. Would love to intern, you know? And he connected me with the person, and I interned there for, I think, a year, I want to say. It was mostly office stuff. They did a little bit of filming while I was there, but it wasn't too much. Who did we filmed with Train, the band Train.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I was also there. I was there for the last days that Frank worked on the show as of now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
I was also there, I want to say the last time Jerry was on set. As far as I can tell, it's the last time. But, you know, it was like Carol was still there. Fran was still there. Kevin was still there. It was like sort of this like weird end of an era that like kind of wrapped up in the next like year or so after that. And it was wild, you know, it's crazy. And I'm happy that it happened. It was it was an internship. So it was a lot of like copy and coffees. It was nothing super crazy, but like I got to give tours to a lot of people who came to visit. So like it sort of felt a little full circle because that was what I did, you know, when I was a kid. But yeah, the main memory from that first show was we went out to a diner with Carol on like his lunch break across the street, and I ordered a BLT. And at that point, I was a little suburban boy who didn't know what a BLT was, and I got mad that there was not a hamburger in there. I was like, "What do you mean? Yeah, I wanted like a bacon, lettuce, tomato, and a hamburger. What are we doing?"
The B stands for burger.
Yes,
that does sound better.
Yeah.
BLT,
And I remember him laughing at me. So it all,
so
it happens.
That's an advanced level of uncultured to not
Yes.
know what a BLT
Yes.
is.
I know.
So you said you wanted to be a puppeteer. Did you
I
think
did.
about going to UConn for puppetry?
I did. I don't know why I didn't do it.
It's okay. I'm not here to judge you.
No,
I'm
no. I appreciate it.
I
I'm very fine with my life decisions, but it is one of those weird, like, what if things. I think the urge to go to school in New York at that point was higher than the urge to be a puppeteer. I also, when I was choosing schools, the main goal was to work on SNL. That was like the thing that I wanted to do. So I think that sort of outweighed. I'm like, I'm not going to do that if I live near a bunch of cows at UConn. Like it's just more likely that I would do it if I was in New York. And then I interned there for a year and a half. So like it's, it all worked out in the end. But being able to do SNL and Sesame was like very cool.
Yeah.
Which was a more fun place to intern?
Probably SNL.
I mean, that feels like a little bit more lively, a little bit more going on all the time.
Yeah. I mean, with Sesame, we were like in an office for a lot of it. So it was one of the things that I did do there that I have no idea if they still use this or not, but they wanted to create a character Bible for the people who work there. So like, anyone could go look it up and be like, who's Roxy Marie? And now at that point, like the Muppet Wiki existed. Yeah. So I'm not sure why we really needed to do that. But I like put together like a 60-page character Bible for like a lot of the big ones.
That's cool.
I have to assume they're not using it anymore, but it was like very much busy work for a very long time.
Yeah. That sounds like one of those things like your boss tells you to do and then nobody ever
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. But I worked on that the third old school DVD too.
Oh, cool.
I don't remember what I did. I think we like went through clips and we're like finding clips that they could use or something like that. But I specifically remember that was like one of the big projects.
So out of all of this, you clearly have you fan of Muppets from a young age, got to be there on the set at Sesame Street, got to work at Sesame Street. Throughout all of this Muppet fandom, have you developed a favorite amongst the Muppets? Do you have a favorite Muppet, a favorite Muppet piece of media that you always come back to?
Favorite Muppet is New Zealand. It'll always be New Zealand until the day I die.
Wow.
All right.
Don't know why. It's just the guy. It's my guy.
I don't know why either.
Love New Zealand. Big fan. Sounds like that is not the case here, though. Sounds like Sam is not a New Zealand guy.
I guess I don't really feel any one way or the other particularly about him.
Okay, great. It's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna act differently through the rest of this podcast, but it's okay.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
And then no, it's okay. And then favorite project or favorite thing. I mean, the thing I've probably seen the most. I'm like looking at my DVD shelf, just like trying to like scan and be like, what is the thing? We had the VHS of the Vincent Price Muppet Show episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw that so many times that's probably the thing. It's probably a Muppet Show episode, although the Muppet movie is like my favorite movie of all time. So that's ultimately probably what it is. But
yeah,
I've seen the Vincent Price thing so many times.
I feel like everybody probably has like a tape either that they bought or like taped off of TV that has a handful of Muppet Show episodes that to them is like, this is the Muppet
these
Show.
Are the best. Yeah. You're like the Connie Stevens episode, man, oh man, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like I had Sylvester Stallone and Avery. What's his name? Avery
Schreiber.
Schreiber. Those are the two that I remember just watching over and over.
Two very similar men.
Wild.
The same guy, basically.
Is that a commercially released?
No, it was
tape?
just episodes my parents had taped off
filmed?
Of TV.
That's
I
so
remember
funny.
the commercials and stuff. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, yeah, that's such a big question, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's hard for us, even with as much as we've watched at this point, when people are like, oh, what's the favorite thing you've watched so far? And it's like, we've watched so many things. My memory isn't great.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say Rolf, Jimmy Dean, because they're always reliably great.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, it's the Muppets, for as many bad things as they have done, they've also done mostly great things.
Sure.
Yeah.
To go on a slightly deeper level, I would also say the Muppets at Walt Disney World or Visit Walt Disney World.
Yeah,
whatever the title of that is. I love that special. I think it's really fun.
I haven't revisited it because I'm so excited to watch it for this show. But that is another one that I had on tape too. That I watched. I probably have watched that. Yeah, more than any other Muppet thing, just because I was little and I would just watch it over and over and over again.
I think it's crazy that they don't put it on Disney. I mean, well, there's some stuff that may not fly now. That's in it, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But it just feels like an easy, thing to sell Walt Disney World on Disney Plus, and
especially when they do kind of, they've been doing that thing where they're kind of pushing the Muppets as like ambassadors of the parks, and especially Disney World. Not to have that. I mean, they've edited worse stuff.
Sure.
And there's episodes of the Muppet Show that are downright just straightforward racist. That are just like, okay, you put that on Disney Plus with a warning. Anything that's in Muppets at Walt Disney World isn't worse than.
No, I think. The thing that there's the Rock and Rollin' Around the World song that the Electric Mayhem sing, and it's just like them in front of Mexico wearing, quote unquote Mexican garb, and then them in front of whatever. Yeah. So it's not great, but I also think that a lot of the stuff in the Muppet Show is probably worse than that. I don't think it's as bad as that.
When you have Middle Eastern oil barons buying the Muppet Theater and stuff, I feel like you've done enough things that were questionable in the Muppet Show that I don't think you need to. You can just slap up one of those 12-second warning things before the episode, and I think that's fine. But
what is the worst thing you guys have watched so far? Sorry to keep.
Well, I think
it's pretty close.
There's worst racist as far as like the Muppet Show episodes. Yeah. But then there's also worst, and it's just like I think boring is also a different category of worst sometimes, where we just watch it and we're like, well, that's hours of our lives we're not getting back. I honestly think there's also maybe a third category where it's not necessarily boring, bad, horrible, but like we got our expectations up high about something, and then we're so disappointed in something. Like I think Little Muppet Monsters was that for us, where we were hoping Little Muppet Monsters was going to be like this hidden gem that not a lot of people talk about. We're going to watch what's available and be like, we're defenders of Little Muppet Monsters. And then we watch it and we're like, that's probably really a reason nobody talks about this.
Good. Yeah. Muppet Babies I hate so much. That to me is like...
We are fully in the throes of Muppet Babies. I don't even think we should be
watching Muppet Babies, honestly, because it's not Muppets. To hear that. But
I agree with that. I love hearing that. I think you guys, when we originally talked about this, you're like, do you want to watch Muppet Babies? And I was like, no.
No, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, I am on the side, clearly, of like, I do think we should watch it because it is such a big part of what the company is doing at this point.
Sure.
And it also is one of my first introductions to Muppets as a kid was watching Muppet Babies like on the Disney Channel, thinking because I was a dumb baby that it was a good show.
I love this so much.
Because
so many people you talk to are like, oh, I love the Muppets. Muppet Babies, it was huge. And you're like, all right, but that's not it.
Objectively true. It was huge, but
yeah.
And I think, there's times where we try to say, hey, it was a show for babies. You have to judge it through certain eyes. We're not babies anymore. But then you go watch just like 5 minutes of good Sesame Street sketches and you're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
You can make shows for babies that are good.
Yeah.
I just don't. Yeah. I think over anything else that doesn't live up to the standards that Jim sets for the stuff that he works on. And there's just times when I watched it, like I don't understand why he was okay with. I mean, it must have just been the money, but like why he would see the show and be like, that's great. Love that Kermit's in that.
Yeah.
Because it's just,
I mean, that paid for other stuff. Yeah. That's what it is.
Through merchandise alone, like it did incredibly well.
Yeah.
And just like IP awareness, all those people that we're talking to who are like, I love Muppet Babies. Like all of those people think that they like the Muppets because they like Muppet Babies.
Yeah, I was just at an event for Jim-Henson's birthday at the Museum of the Moving Image in New York this past week, and multiple people were coming up to me and saying, I love how much you guys hate Muppet Babies.
That's amazing. I love that.
So we are not alone in our distaste. I think if we were done with Muppet Babies at this point, it would be more fun. It would be easier to enjoy that people enjoy this.
Left, though.
How many seasons left?
There's 8 seasons total, and we've watched 3. I think is that right?
Yeah. So we are only like 40% of the way through Muppet Babies at this point.
It's brutal, and it's back when TV was 25 episodes a season, and not fun.
Yeah, so we are reaching a period of time coming up here where it's a lot of Muppet Babies. There's Fraggle Rock, the animated series, which I've heard nothing good about.
Yeah, that's at least short though. That's like 13, I think.
Yeah, and we're gonna cram those in and just cover them in 2 episodes just to get them out of the way. But we just got so much Muppet Babies on the horizon, which is unfortunate.
Fraggle Rock ending was a real emotional blow to me because that at least would come through and clear out the bad Muppet Baby feelings every now and then as we were going through things, but we don't even have that anymore.
I wonder, and you guys are probably more equipped to speak to this, how much Muppet Babies and the Fraggle Rock animated show would be improved if they had just had the performers do it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think you go back and watch the Muppet Babies segment in Muppets Take Manhattan, and some of those voices that the performers did sound pretty close to what the voice actors ended up doing on Muppet Babies. And then other ones are pretty far off because, you know, they had to make a more interesting choice, maybe for the voice actors in the cartoons. But I think if the writing and all the songs are still the same, I still think we dislike it just as much.
I think if the writing was the same, Frank would say, I am not doing this.
Well, I think that may have been the case. That seems like that was probably what it was. Yeah,
that's right. But the writing is just like one person wrote every episode of the first 4 seasons except for like 1 episode.
That's
crazy. So it's just like going with him on this journey into his like it feels like you're going with him on a journey into the depths of complete insanity. But then
especially in the last few episodes.
Then we watched an episode by a different writing team and that episode was actually pretty good. So I am thinking maybe once more, because he doesn't write any episodes after this. He just like snapped and ran out of the building, you know, like buck naked or something. But yeah, I think the writing is really like if Jerry Jewell had been guiding the ship, I think things would have been really different.
Yeah, for what it's worth, like this is Jeffrey Scott was the writer on that, who also wrote like Super Friends, Dungeons and Dragons, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling.
Cool.
Like he was just the Saturday morning TV guy.
Yeah. He does have a book. He does have a book called How to Write for Animation.
I mean, he's done it enough. I feel like
You'll have
like if it's a technically how-to book, I guess. But I also know he's been involved in some legal battles with Disney because
he's mad
when they rebooted Muppet Babies, he felt that he should have been involved and or paid.
Okay. I mean, he's got some good quotes on his site. Can I read them to you?
Yes, please.
We'll start with Jeffrey Katzenberg. No need to remind me that you have the experience to give the very best. You are the best.
Wait, so this is a quote from Jeffrey Katzenberg about Jeffrey Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Here's a quote from quote unquote Stan Lee. Who knows if Stan Lee actually knows?
Excelsior, Jeffrey Scott.
Jeffrey is one of the top names in the animation field. A man who's done it all and done it with style. And then Jim-Henson. Thank you for all you've done for Muppet Babies. I think it's a terrific series because of you.
Oh, wow.
Did he say that after season 4 when Jeffrey wasn't coming back?
His retirement party,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this now too, and it's great because there's like headshots of the people next to the quotes. Yes. And I just wish I had blurbs for myself.
I was going to say, I need to start reaching out to my friends to get pull quotes from.
This is like LinkedIn things back then. Like, I love the Jeffrey Katzenberg one specifically.
That one's really good.
Because it says, no need to remind me that you have the experience to give the very best. You are the best. This sounds like Jeffrey went to Jeffrey and asked for a job and explained to him why he should hire him. And he's like, you don't need to remind me that you have the experience to give the very best.
I know who you are, man. Jeffrey Scott, we love you. Come on the show.
We've pitched that a couple times. I don't know if he'd be happy to, but we've also shit on his writing quite a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think at this point you can have him on.
I think I'm too scared that he would listen back. But I don't, if he didn't, we treat him with utmost respect, of course.
Yeah, we try to do this podcast in a bubble where we don't necessarily think before we speak sometimes about like the people working on these shows. But then, sometimes you're at a museum event talking to Cheryl and Heather Henson and you mention you have a podcast and they said, I'll check it out. And I say, okay.
Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Heather. Thank you for listening.
We do propose explicit sexual situations involving Miss Piggy pretty frequently, so sorry for that in advance.
They don't get too specific. We just say that, she's hot.
She's hot.
We just have to acknowledge that. It's objectively true.
Yeah.
Wow. Cheryl and Heather, for the record, I never said that. Please hire me. I will do anything.
Well, what if they think she's hot too? Then they'll hire us. So it's a 50-50 shot.
Okay. Let me try that again. Cheryl and Heather, if you disagree, please remember that I never said anything.
I'm gonna say Michael Frith, the man himself who made Miss Piggy the sex symbol she went on to be, has many quotes talking about how attractive he thought Miss Piggy was.
Yeah,
so really, we are the Michael Friths of the modern day.
Yeah,
sure. That's what we all say. That's why I'm here, honestly.
Can we get a pull quote of you saying that specifically to put on our website?
Okay, here we go. You ready? Commitment is the Michael Frith of the modern day.
We got
Perfect.
it.
You can pull that out,
got
right?
it.
I'll just take your headshot, put that on the website.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right next to Stan Lee saying, "Commitment is the greatest podcast that's ever existed."
Oh, we could put it next to Variety, who said that our show had a great name recently.
That's true.
There you go. Pretty good.
I think they said a podcast, and then it's a great name, so.
Putting it on the website as Variety might be an issue, though, because it was Vulture, Sam. This said it, not Variety.
Well, too many V-named stuff.
I was going to say it's very impressive that you got a Variety mention. I was trying to figure out what the context would be.
We'll lower the bar. It was Vulture. Still a lovely article all about the recent trailer for Saturday Night and how Jim-Henson is portrayed in the movie Saturday
Muppet
Night.
fans are up in arms, and we're the ones who got them going.
Look, I'm seeing it in a few hours, so here we go.
Maybe you'll be in the movie.
Man, can you imagine?
Fictionalized version of you.
They time travel it, just like smash the time together.
It'll end with like somebody bringing a baby on set, be like, "This is my son, Patrick."
Yeah.
And then you'll
He really won't be born for like 15 more years, but it's okay. Here he is.
Yeah, it's all right. Milton Berle's there too.
I got a good feeling about this kid. Those
And then I say live from New York at Saturday night.
Those are your first words.
Yeah.
Well, that seems about as good a time as any to ask you, Sam, what did we watch this week?
This week we watched Puppetman, which aired July 3rd, 1987. WGRF-TV in Madison, Wisconsin is home to the children's television series Dragon Time, a live show about the exploits of several puppet dragons and their human friend, Lady Rita. Gary, the titular Puppetman, is the show's creator and one of the puppeteers, along with fellow puppeteers Dell and Holly. Lady Rita is played by the very Miss Piggy-esque, in my opinion, Rita, whose constant dramatics are a drag on the cast and crew, especially Dell, who fights with her frequently. Her antics are only tolerated because the show's producer Bud is having an affair with her, it seems. To add to the backstage drama, Dragon Time's 6 months on air have been a bit of a flop, and the station manager has let them know in no uncertain terms that their days are almost numbered. And on top of all that stress, Gary is recently divorced, and his ex-wife is sending their son Zach to stay with him for a while as she auditions for a big part in a play. Gary has never taken care of Zach on his own before and struggles to connect with his son, a situation that isn't helped by Gary constantly needing to cancel plans with Zach in order to save his failing show. Partway through Zach's stay, Gary is feeling like a bad father when his wife calls to say that she got the part and, what's more, it's a part in a traveling company and Zach will need to stay with Gary for 6 months. Gary isn't sure he can handle the show and his son at the same time and grapples with which of them he'll need to cut out of his life. This all comes to a head when Zach is left in the care of Bud's son, Little Bud. Little Bud rushes into the studio right before showtime to tell Gary that Zach has had terrible stomach pain for the past hour. Worried that it's appendicitis, Gary finally chooses family over his career and rushes to the hospital wearing a full-body dragon costume. While there, he watches the broadcast of Dragon Time and is pleased to see that it's going okay, despite him not being there. Zach is released from the hospital because his appendicitis turned out to have just been a stomachache caused by eating too much ice cream. They return to the studio for the big finale, and the network tells them that, despite their ratings still being terrible, their biggest competition on another network has gone on an unexpected hiatus, so Dragon Time will live to suck another day. Gary, confident that he can have both a career and a good relationship with the son, asks Zach if he'd like to stay with him for the next 6 months, and Zach enthusiastically says that he would. If you were watching TV in the summer of 1987, some of the shows that you could have watched instead of Puppetman were Murder, She Wrote, Who's the Boss, Growing Pains, Full House, Moonlighting, Matlock, The Cosby Show, Night Court, and, of course, Alf, if you really need a puppet in your televised entertainment.
It's quite the roster of shows to be amongst if you're Puppetman. It's quite a lot of competition.
Also, you say could have watched. I would maybe change that to should have watched.
Well, you know. Puppetman's appointment television.
I mean, you better be, because otherwise you're never going to see it again until YouTube becomes a thing.
We also watched a clip from Entertainment Tonight that kind of just like profiles the idea of Muppet Meeting films, which at this point are in their Leo, Grump, and Monster era, which I think was kind of like the second or third wave of these things. So we just see some clips of stuff that we watched 120 episodes ago, and have a little interview with Leo and the Monster, which is kind of fun because it's Frank and Jim, so they're kind of chopping it up for a second. But other than that,
but is it Frank? Because in the behind the scenes stuff, the Monster is Kevin.
I think they.
Maybe he was just doing it for
the Monster's Frank, but in the part where they're talking to each other, he's definitely doing his animal voice.
That's
but
what I thought too. But
in the Muppet Meeting films, he definitely wasn't Frank.
No, because he was usually Grump in those.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they just wanted to interview Frank and Jim, and Grump wasn't an interesting enough character, so Frank just grabbed the Monster.
Yeah, and did his animal voice.
And yeah, I think it's a pretty nothing clip, but it exists, so we have to watch it.
Yeah.
The only part that made me laugh, which shouldn't have, at the very end, the woman who's hosting Entertainment Tonight is like, "I loved that, but where was Cookie Monster?" And they're kind of laughing. And then she goes, "And when we come back, we will remember the great Jackie Gleason." And you're like, "Oh, geez."
That's the best. Watching old clips and seeing those out of context things. I love that so much.
But they're just like laughing. It's like clearly they did not remember that their next segment was going to be memorializing Jackie Gleason.
Jackie would want you to laugh, don't you think?
It's true.
It was his number one goal in life. We also were supposed to watch a small clip from a show called Alive from Off Center, the episode as seen on TV. This was basically a TV show that they did in the 80s where they would just allow weird experimental films to be aired on network television. But the reason we were going to watch it is because Bert and Ernie pop up for just like 30 seconds in this, because in the episode, comic actor Bill Irwin is playing an auditioning dancer who becomes trapped inside of a TV. And as he's going through different parts of a TV, he runs into Bert and Ernie in their apartment.
Was this directed or anything by a Muppet person?
No, it just, as far as I can tell, was just maybe like a favor they did to Bill Irwin, I guess, to be a part of this.
That's really interesting.
But elsewhere in the world of Muppets around this time, in our last episode, we discussed the end of Fraggle Rock, which was the spring of 1987. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of things that they were up to between the spring and summer of 1987. In April 1987, they filmed Puppetman, the thing we're here to talk about today. In May 1987 is when they kind of start doing a bunch of stuff over in the UK. Cheryl goes over to the UK to work on Storyteller with Jim. Brian Henson and Kevin Clash are doing a 2-week workshop in London because it was clear Storyteller was going to keep going. They're going to keep making more of these things. And they're like, we don't have a lot of UK-based puppeteers. So we're going to need to train some more, get some more going. So Brian Henson and Kevin Clash were in charge of whittling down a bunch of auditioning puppeteers. Then the Henson family went and spent a weekend in Scotland with Jocelyn Stevenson, who had worked on Fraggle Rock. Then in July of 1987, Jim writes in his journal, Charleville, France, puppetry video workshop. 21 students begin with Cheryl and Brian, Heather over for the last week. So this is in 1987. Jim spent several weeks at the Institut International de la Marionnette in Charleville, Mézières, France.
Beautiful pronunciation.
You're welcome. You know, I tried really hard to even pronounce it close to right. So I deserve half a point for credit. So just to, you know, I looked it up at least. But basically he was conducting some workshops over there, focusing on TV puppetry. And Cheryl, Brian, and Heather all went over there to help him out. And notably, if you'd like to hear more about this trip, we talked about it in episode 128 in our conversation with photographer Richard Termini, who traveled with Jim on that trip. So yeah, if you want to hear more about that trip and what it was like traveling the world with Jim-Henson, go listen to that episode. But we are here today to talk about the pilot for the July 3rd, 1987 airing of Puppetman. And now, Patrick, you've seen this before.
I have seen it before. Also, just seeing that it was July 3rd means they were truly just trying to burn this off. They were just like, I don't know, day before that everyone's traveling. Like, just put it in there. I'm trying to remember when I watched it. It was pretty recent. And I think it was maybe because I was reading Funny Boy, the Richard Hunt biography. So I think I probably watched it when I was reading that. But yeah, not good. Not good. Here's what I'll say. There's two major takeaways from this. I think the dragon, what is the name of the show? Dragon
Time.
I think the song is good.
Oh,
I think the Dragon Time song, I liked it.
Do you like specifically the lyric, it's Dragon Time?
Yeah.
Time doesn't
Yes,
drag
100%.
when it's Dragon Time?
And I do think that there is a good show in here. I don't think that they found it, but I think you could make this into an interesting show. I also don't understand why the son gets the and in the credits, because not to dump on a child actor, but like he doesn't have a kid, you know?
So I will push back a little bit in that I think he would be a good child actor in a drama.
Oh, sure.
Because he is great at delivering lines authentically and realistically like a child would. The problem is he's in a show where he shouldn't be doing that.
It almost sounds like they asked him to ad-lib and all he could ever think of was saying, I don't know. And I don't know. I'm sure if that was like a joke, I guess it must have been a joke or something, but him just going, I don't know. That's the only line he has in the whole dang thing.
A big problem with this is that there's a lot of times you're like, is that a joke? Were they trying? Or did they just not think of a joke and they wrote, I don't know? Because the I don't know thing seems like it could have been them trying to give him a catchphrase.
Yeah.
But then the times he uses it where it's just flat and he's like, I don't know. It's like they really couldn't think of anything else for him to say that was funny.
Yeah.
What does Michelle say? Or what's the kid saying? Full House? What's her thing?
You talking about Stephanie saying how rude?
How would? Yeah. They're trying for a how would.
I was going to throw in a you got it, dude.
Or yeah. They had, I guess there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
You got to be tapped into Sam's brain to know that his references are never one-to-one straight lines. When he says Michelle, I knew he meant Stephanie.
Yeah. This kid does not act that much. His last thing is Black Sheep, the David Spade, Chris Farley movie.
Oh, wow.
He's in Child's Play 1 and 3, but I think in Child's Play 3, they're just reusing a clip from Child's Play 1.
Is he like in the commercial or something?
He's kid in the animated commercial.
He's the kid in the commercial. I just watched, this is so weird because I just marathon watched all those movies for the first time ever and am completely in love with Chucky now. Yeah, that kid's iconic. I can't believe I didn't realize that. Okay, well, never mind. This show's great.
That turns everything around.
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff is like voiceover things.
Odd.
But there's not that much. He's in a movie called Milk Money with Melanie Griffith and Ed Harris. I think he plays one of the kids in that movie. I've never heard of it either. But it's only like 8 or 9 things.
In Child's Play, what stands out so much about his one line is that he's so sad. And in this, he's also so sad. It just breaks your heart to even look at this child. It's just like, the child of divorce, and his dad doesn't even really like him that much. He's like, this kid's a flop.
This kid is 5 years old and his dad has never spent one-on-one time with him.
How is that possible? I couldn't quite make sense of he must have only just gotten divorced is what I feel like
my canon at least is that they got divorced about 6 months ago, because it seems like this Dragon Time show has only existed for 6 months.
Yeah.
And they say that Gary and Del moved here to work on this show. So they are from Chicago, and it seems like 6 months ago Gary and Del moved to Madison, Wisconsin to work on Dragon Time.
Right.
And so I'm guessing the divorce was sometime around 6 months to a year ago.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. In that 6 months, he never solo parented his son.
Well, no, I'm saying in the previous 4.5 years of having a son, presumably married.
Sure.
Yeah.
There was never a time when you were left alone with your son.
Bad dad, bad husband could explain the divorce.
I mean, the ending is also just not to jump ahead, but when he's like, you want to just live with me? And the kid's like, yeah. And you're like, oh, we're not going to talk about this with the mom at all? Like, this is just...
Well, the mom called and said...
She called
and said, I don't have time for this kid anymore.
You're right.
You got to take this guy.
She's like, I'm not going to see my son for 6 months. You have to explain this to him via puppet.
Both of these people aren't really enamored with this kid.
Yeah. So... Well, is this what it was like when you visited Sesame Street, Patrick?
Yeah, it was very similar. Telly asked me if I wanted to live with him. It was very strange. Yeah. I will say it feels like the budget for a, Midwestern local television show. It has to be very high to get those puppets.
Yeah, the
They're
full
very good
body
puppets.
puppet.
Very good
It's all
puppets.
like professionally rigged up inside.
Also,
No way.
God, this show is insane. Like when he goes to the hospital in that costume, you're just like, who let this happen?
Yeah.
My favorite
Why is he
thing-
doing this?
So that's one of the moments I kind of like is when they like bring this into a real world scenario.
Yeah.
Because I think something the show could have done a little bit more was make fun of the life of a puppeteer a little bit more.
Sure. And blur the lines a little bit more. Like I was so disappointed in his apartment and like there wasn't like wacky stuff and puppets going on there. It was so separate.
But I did like that there's nobody else in that hospital besides the main nurse. Nobody else is going there. Nobody is working there. They didn't want to have any extras or anything. They were like, one woman works at this hospital, and that's the only person we're going to meet here.
When I was a kid, I liked Fred Newman. He'd be on a lot of PBS stuff, Doug, a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't think he can carry this show. He's like very much out of its depth, and it's a bummer, and it's sad because you're like, I want to like you more than I do.
Yeah.
In this, he just the drama stuff isn't for him, and I don't know.
And he's getting shown up by Richard.
Everyone
and Holly. Both Richard and Holly are much more interesting than he is.
Yeah, and there's moments where I can't tell if it's the writing, the acting, or just the pacing of this show. Yeah. But like, I find myself just not caring about anything that's happening.
Yeah.
And I don't like in the moment with the hospital in another sitcom. I feel like rushing off to the hospital because you think your kid has appendicitis.
Yeah.
And it feels like a big moment of him choosing. Like the way, Sam, you even described it in the plot summary was better than it was portrayed in the show, of him choosing his child over work, where really he was just like, I think I can make this work. It's fine.
I think I can come back. Yeah, I guess you're right. He really was just like, I can do this and come back. So he wasn't
right. He wasn't like, Bud, you'll have to do it without me. He's like, Bud, I'll be about 15 minutes late.
I got to drop this punk off at the hospital so he can have surgery.
A secret for people who don't work in the entertainment industry is you'll hear about like TV pilots or whatever that don't go, and everyone's like, no, it should go. It should get released. 99.9% of the time, it's because it's like this. And you're just like, oh, that was it? I've heard about this show for years. Like, there's pictures of it in Jim-Henson The Works, I feel like. Like, there's, you see pictures of it, you hear about it for such a long time, and then you see it, and you're like, oh, I get it. I understand why this didn't happen. This totally makes sense.
Yeah. Or like if you're the executive that it gets shown to, you're just like, how could you do this for one more episode, let alone 20-something more episodes?
Yeah.
You've said all you need to say, I think.
But I do think if someone took that idea and repurposed it currently, you could make it work in some way. Or maybe even not currently, maybe like 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like if they had tried it again later on, I think there is something there. I don't know if it would last more than a season, but there's something.
Well, I think it could, the weird connective tissue here is that apparently somehow in the process, I just read this as like a one sentence thing, Jim Carrey was considered for the lead of this show.
Wow.
Now, Jim Carrey was only 25 at the time, as opposed to Fred Newman, who's 35 in this. So, like, giving a 25-year-old Jim Carrey the role of the dad on the sitcom maybe would feel a little weird.
Yeah.
But Jim Carrey would go on to make Kidding, which is sort of a modern version of something like this.
Sure.
And yeah, I think that's how, if it was being done today, they would do it a little bit more of a drama as opposed to the sitcom style of this, which for many reasons just doesn't really work.
Everyone is very hammy in it,
which I think works for Richard Hunt.
Yes. But it feels very 80s sitcom. It feels very much like, oh, this was a canceled 80s sitcom that did not stand the test of time. You know what I mean? It would be something that you like saw on Nick at Night and then later found out there's only 7 episodes of, and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they hired 2 TV writers, Mark Reisman, who at the time had mostly just done Thick of the Night, Alan Thicke's talk show. but would go on to
really
work.
good name. I've never heard that before.
I only know Thick of the Night as like a reference on, I think, like The Critic or something. Like I feel like it was a joke reference in the 90s of Alan Thicke's TV show Thick of the Night. But he would go on to work on, like, as an executive producer on Frasier and Wings. And the other writer was Jeremy Stevens, who had been a writer on The Electric Company as well as Thick of the Night, but would go on to write for Coach and Everybody Loves Raymond. So
he also wrote on the 1981 season of SNL, which is the season after the main cast left.
Oh, I was going to say, was that a good one or a bad one? I couldn't remember.
No,
that's not a
one.
great one.
Yeah, it's a bad one.
Is that the Robert Downey Jr. one, or is that before?
That's like, this is like the Gilbert Godfrey, Denny Dillon, Charles Rocket, that season.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, two men who at the time had not done a lot, or at least high profile things, but would go on to be two huge TV sitcom writers.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, to train them to write for Puppetman, they flew them out to New York to go to the Paley Center, or at the time it was the Museum of Broadcasting, to watch episodes of Howdy Doody, Kukla, Fran and Ollie, and Sherry Lewis, to be like, you got a puppet masterclass, here you go. And who at the time was a Henson staffer and took them to the Museum of Broadcasting, Mr. Bill Prady.
Oh,
who would go on to create The Big Bang Theory, amongst many other huge high-profile
also wrote
sitcoms.
Muppet 3D, created the 2015 ABC series. Like, he's got a Muppet pedigree. The Muppet Chip is based off of him.
Based on him, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He wrote Muppet Vision 3D?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just had Bill just did a show of mine in LA, and I had never met him, and I was like, he got there and I said, okay, my ulterior motive for booking you is that I just want to talk about Muppet 3D. I'm so sorry. This is all we need to talk about tonight.
Was he happy to do that?
He loved it. He loved talking about it. And that actually might be my favorite Muppet thing. Now that I'm like thinking about it.
Oh my God. Just like sitting in the theater is just like, what?
Yeah. No, we
top 5, definitely.
We want to do a commitment road trip at some point to go get live and podcast from the queue.
And if they are going to tear it down, we'll have to expedite that trip and also chain ourselves to the building.
I don't think they are.
It doesn't seem like, at least for now, it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't.
By the time this airs, that may be different. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, getting into the cast here a little bit, I think we talked about, like, Fred Newman doesn't necessarily feel like he's working on this, but apparently Jim-Henson just liked him. Like, they met in the early 80s, and Jim was just like, hey, I like that guy.
And he's Skeeter on Doug, is that right?
Yeah, he's Skeeter. I think most notably, and the biggest connection to this is that he's also the voice of Dale, Skeeter's little brother on Doug, who sounds exactly like Candle.
Yes, okay.
Sorry, I'm just reading Fred Newman's Wikipedia page now.
I don't feel like I'm as familiar with Fred Newman as you are.
No.
I'm trying to figure out why I am. I feel like when I was a kid, he would have stuff on like PBS, but I'm like trying to figure out what that is now. He used to have, it was like little interstitial bits on some children's show that we would watch where it was like, and now it's Fred's Corner or something like that, and he would like make some noises with his mouth, and
I didn't listen to it in preparation for this, but he put out an album in the 80s called Zounds, which is a how to make sounds with your mouth record.
Oh, okay. I think it's okay.
So him teaching you how to do that.
So you liked the theme song?
I think it was kind of fun.
Because the theme song, when it started, I was like, I would like to die now, please. And then they play it so many more times.
Yeah, they play it too many times. And especially the fact that I think it ends on the theme song and then they go to the credits and they're also singing the theme song again.
Yeah.
I think I liked that it sounded like an actual song that would be on a real kids show. I think that's what I liked about it. Where I was like, yeah, I remember shows like this. Like, this is a song that I would hear when I was a kid, Am I going to put it on my phone to listen to? No, I'm not.
Yeah,
new ringtone?
It's your ringtone now. Yeah. There is something kind of fun about the fact that the theme song for the show is the theme song for the fictional show in the show, but it's also very confusing too. Because why is it, like, Puppetman is also just a bad name for a show, especially a show where the guy isn't really doing that much stuff with puppets, I guess, except having a heart-to-heart with his son at the end. But I don't know, does anybody ever say, like, "You puppet man" or anything like that? They should.
Well, they were saving that for episode 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. The last episode.
I think at one point Bud says something about like these puppet people.
Yeah,
that's the closest we get.
Right. At the on the last episode, it was like an origin story, and he would be like, "And finally, I am the puppet." He would forsake his son entirely and be like, "Am I going to be Dad Man or Puppet Man? I'm Puppet Man. Sorry, Zach. Get out of here."
It's the opposite lesson of the 2011 Muppets movie. It's like, actually, no, I think I choose puppets.
Yeah.
But now Bud too. We should talk about Bud. Huge Muppet connection. Yeah.
The former writer of the Muppet Show. And a man who I don't remember loving his work as much.
Yeah,
on the Muppet
Show.
Avery Schreiber's former comedy partner.
That's right. Yeah, and I feel like I remember Jack Burns basically is like, "You guys don't need me anymore." Was that what happened on the Muppet Show?
I don't remember why he left, but I just remember that his episodes feel distinctly different because they're much more gag based and one-liners. Which I was shocked, like sort of how restrained he is in this, which the voice is not necessarily restrained. He's doing a thing with his voice.
Yeah.
But as a character, he was a little smaller than I thought he was going to be.
I thought he was the Puppet Man going into the show. I didn't know that Gary even existed. I was like, when are we going to get to the Puppet Man? And then he wasn't even the Puppet Man.
Yeah, I think the cast is interesting, and I think there is something there under the surface they could have done with this eventually, because even just in the opening credits, we see a cool van that isn't talked about. There's a dragon van in the opening credits that they're driving around in, and I'm like, I don't know why you need that. You're a children's TV show. But they also
I did Google why did Jack Burns leave the Muppet Show. I'm sorry to hop in.
Oh yeah.
Google gave me an AI answer, which is truly terrible, and I'm going to read it to you right now.
Can't wait.
Jack Burns was fired from the Muppet Show midway through season 6 because his character was not popular with fans.
Wow, there's a lot going on there. Season 6, for instance, I didn't realize that happened. His character was not popular.
Whoa, that's too bad.
Yeah, sorry. We're gonna have to uncover season 6 at some point and watch that, I think, because we missed that one in our initial viewing.
On the subject of the cast, what do we think about Richard? How did he do being a person and not just a puppet?
I mean, to be fair, I think he was a puppet person.
Yeah, he was a puppet man more than anybody
mostly
else,
a puppet.
that's for sure.
He is the puppet man.
Yeah.
But I think if everyone else had matched the energy of Richard in this, like, they don't need to be as wacky, but I just feel like he's kind of doing his own thing and he's not getting a lot in return.
Yes, I think that's true.
I like when he is talking to people as the puppet or walks away having a conversation with the puppet.
I thought that was a fun gimmick, and I think that is something that, like, that could be what the Puppet Man is, and it's like, this guy likes puppets to the detriment of his own life, and maybe there's something with that being more of the focus of it. I don't know, but I wanted more of him and Gary's, like, I wanted to know why they had a van together. I wanted to know what was going on with these two guys.
I think it would sort of be hard for them to make the main character a lunatic.
That's true. I suppose, especially like back then. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing where it's like, if it was a 90s Fox show, they could have made the main character a lunatic, and the show would have lasted for like 15 episodes, and everybody would have been like, all right, we can't take that anymore.
Yes. If this show was Chris Elliott is Puppet Man.
Oh my gosh.
It's a different show, but like probably a better show, probably a more interesting show.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, making Fred Newman just kind of like a boring guy, who's like occasionally silly, is just not, it feels like it was like noted to death in a way that is boring, but I think it probably is just like a bad script,
Well, and like his most defining feature is the weird sounds, which he only does a couple times in the episode, but also isn't enough for a whole character to be based around. So like, what do you get from Fred Newman as your lead other than the occasional weird sounds?
And it does feel like Richard's character should be the guy doing the weird sounds.
Yeah, it doesn't match his. Yeah, he's not a wacky guy otherwise.
Yeah.
He's like deadly serious and also goes a wooga every now and then.
Yes. I did figure out the answer, and it was he was fired in season 6 of the Andy Griffith Show. because his
Okay.
character was not popular with fans.
So that's where they were pulling that from.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, we get Fred as Gary is puppeteering both Butane, who's like the main yellow dragon, Candle, the baby dragon, and as also the walk around dragon, Clyde. All again pretty impressive puppets, and we'll see a lot of them again. A lot of the puppets from this show will pop up in things like Ghost of Fafnir Hall or the Jim-Henson Hour or various other projects, because they're like, we made some pretty good puppets, guys, that we never use. No one even knows they exist, so why not use them? We also get Julie Payne as Rita, who seems to have a relationship going on the side with Bud, the TV director here. I feel like the Rita character for me was one of those where I'm like, I don't understand why she's here.
Yeah.
Like, and if you had played her up as, a Sherry Lewis type who created this show and maybe is overstaying her welcome, but like she deserves to be here, or everyone understands why she's here, I feel like that would have made it a little bit clearer. But it just seems like she's messing things up all the time.
Yeah, and it is kind of like nasty that the reason that she's there is they're having an affair. It's like, that's not fun. And there is that weird element where it's like part of the show is like wholesome family fun, and then her parts of it are like Greg the Bunny, which we just watched, where it is like, oh, this is just nasty. Like, this is like, children's shows are actually really gross behind the scenes, but they couldn't decide if they wanted to do that or not do that.
Yeah, we get some of that with the milkmaid conversation when they're saying you're losing in the ratings to Ion Madison, where they're having a milkmaid competition with women in bikinis, and they're talking all about that. And so Rita comes in.
Those two shows aren't fighting for the same eyeballs. I'm sorry. Why would that be the competition?
Great question. Maybe they're running Dragon Time at the wrong time of day.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Which feels like a Mitchell problem, not a Cass problem.
Yeah.
What do we think happened to Dragon Time?
I mean, it seemed to me, it felt like they were presenting it as this long-term successful children's show. But then we learn it's only been on the air for 6 months. And I'm like, all right.
And they really pulled out all the stops to produce it. What do I think happened to it? I
think
it's also
it came along. Live show?
Yeah, a live show.
Yeah, why would it not be, Matthew? What a dumb question.
Yeah, the easiest thing to pull off, a live puppet show every day or every week or whatever it is.
I think that it came along 20 years too late. If it had premiered in the late 60s, early 70s, it would have been a beloved institution on local television forever. But I think we're just on the verge of cable wiping out that kind of thing. Of
I thought you were talking about Puppetman for a second, and I was like,
Dragon Time.
Okay. Dragon Time, yes. I'm with you.
There's a 20-year difference between Gary winning a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Academy Awards and this show being canceled after the end of this year.
Wow, he gets an Oscar for a TV show.
That's how good it is. No, it's when they make the theatrical adaptation of Dragon Time.
Dragon movie.
Yeah, at this point, Gary has branched off of children's entertainment. He's been making dark fantasy puppet series. And
I see.
And stuff like that. Yeah. And he's, standing before the Academy Awards. Butane is presenting the Oscar for Best Animated Feature that year. And then he gets the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, after he's created Gary's Creature Shop.
In this reality, he runs back tail between his legs to Chicago, and he's got to get a job in an office or something like that.
Yeah, it feels like, again, it's hitting that like 90s when you coming home dad trope of business dad who doesn't keep his promise to his kids in ways that shows, like Frasier would do later on. And so I think there are elements of this show that I have seen done well elsewhere. And so it's interesting to not see them done well here.
Look, now you bring that up. Frasier Crane, if you put Kelsey Grammer in the Gary spot, it's maybe a better show.
Oh,
wow. I can't imagine him being enthusiastic about being on Dragon Time.
Well, but put that aside. I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
He'd definitely be better. I won't say he wouldn't be better.
Yeah.
That
I don't know.
silky, smooth voice.
It also feels like a show if it was like 2004 and it's Kelsey Grammer's new show after Frasier, and you're like, he's a guy who works on a puppet TV show. Like, you could absolutely see that happening.
There's another Frasier connection actually to the show, aside from just the one writer. One of the first names that pops up in the credits at the end of this episode of television is the executive in charge of production, Roz Doyle.
Oh,
yes, who
What?
was a real woman who worked on this show and a bunch of other shows, and passed away in 1991. And so the creators of Frasier named the
Immortalized
character
Roz.
after the real Roz Doyle.
Said,
Holy.
the name is free again. We can use it. We don't have to pay anybody.
Hey, we can put up that thing where it's not a reference to anyone living. So, but yeah, Roz Doyle, I saw that pop up in the credits and I was like, what? Wait? Because again, earlier in the show, there are fake credits that roll at some point,
Right.
which makes it a little confusing. So when the real credits rolled and it said Roz Doyle, my brain broke for a second.
Did you get
where I was like,
scared that you had been transported into the universe of Frasier, Matt?
The Frasierverse.
I was just the Frasier timeline suddenly broke for
across
me.
the Frasierverse.
Oh, don't tempt me. As someone currently drinking out of a Cafe Nervosa mug.
Oh, Matt. Oh, Matt.
Yeah, it was just like, wait, Frasier doesn't exist yet. How is
It's so
Roz
weird.
Doyle on this show?
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out there was a real Roz Doyle.
But on the subject of him,
Frasier?
of like
Are we still talking about Frasier? Sam?
basically of the
I'm
bad
listening.
dad, the bad 90s dad thing. I mean, I already harped on this a little bit, but it is just like so badly done because he does just walk in and say, I can't take you to the farm and I don't feel bad about it. And also, I'm not going to take you to the farm tomorrow. And also, this little freak guy is going to come in and take you to the farm.
Oh man, they were trying to really make Little Bud a thing. I
He was
think.
the Fonzie of the generation. Yeah.
I feel like he was more the Cody from Step by Step.
Or the boner. He was the boner.
Little Bud the boner. I definitely agree with you, Patrick. There's something here. Like, I do think there's a lot of pilots that are great, knock it out of the park from the beginning. There's other shows that take a few episodes to get it going. And I do think you could have had a solid 80s sitcom if you had given this maybe a few episodes to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't like this would be one of those pilots that you tell people, hey, start with episode 2.
Yeah.
Like episode 1,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. They're just laying
Right.
the foundation.
Like a lot of stuff would have changed between the pilot and episode 1.
Mhm.
Like they would have
Right,
toned
yeah.
Rita down or something. They
Full
would have
cast
increased
overhaul.
Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably that. Yeah.
I mean, we get a tease in the opening credits when they're riding in their cool dragon van. Fred's playing the banjo,
Yeah.
which we do not see him doing anything musical.
He seems so much more fun in the opening credits than he does at the rest of the time, is right. It's because you got that stupid kid clinging to him.
You tell
Jesus.
people when they're watching the show, you say you could skip most of episode 1, just watch the opening credits.
Gotta see this guy playing the banjo.
And Richard having a hell of a time driving that van.
Yeah.
He's never enjoyed anything more than driving that van.
Oh, he's probably having so much fun. You know, he always seems like he's having so much fun.
Yeah. Did we learn any new lore about any Muppets?
Ooh. I mean, only the fact that these puppets are going to stick around as physical beings
Yeah.
for years to come.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I learned much even about Jim, aside from maybe, you know, his relationship with his children and if he's working through some stuff via puppets.
Well, how much did he touch this? Do you have any idea?
I mean, he developed it and executive produced it.
Okay.
And I think it's based so much on, you know, a children's
Sure.
puppet entertainer.
But I'll say this, developing and executive producing means he could have just been like, I don't know, let's do a show about a guy who works on a puppet show. And then
Yeah,
they're like,
true.
yeah, sure, sounds
Great
good. Time
idea,
to
sir.
check. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he
there's
could
not
have said, let's do a show about a sad divorced man who's estranged from his children.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You know, sometimes writers also will take from real life. So even if Jim didn't say, I would like this to be based on me,
Yeah.
the writers said, well, the only puppet man we know is
Has-
Jim-Henson, recently divorced dad with a bunch of kids. So what do? Yeah, it is interesting to, like, if I was one of Jim-Henson's kids watching Puppetman, to be like watching him deal with this big emotional moment by, yeah, you have to talk to the puppet. I can't actually have a conversation
Oh,
with
that
you.
was fucked, I thought.
Mhm.
I thought that was creepy and bad. And if Holly had been there watching, she would have been like, "That is not what I meant." you have to go to therapy or something, because you have to be able.
Yeah, she must be a disaster if she's like, this guy's going to do a better job than I'm doing.
Oh, no, not his ex-wife. Holly, his coworker, who was like, you have to have a talk with your son.
I can't keep all the names straight.
Beth was his ex-wife.
I'm talking about Beth. I'm sorry.
Holly, the coworker who has a very odd moment. Because Holly doesn't get a ton of character growth in this. Yeah. She just sort of pops in.
She just randomly shows up at his house every day.
Yeah. So at one point, he's putting Zach to bed after he worked late. Apparently, just Zach hanging out at the studio with them, and goes to put Zach to bed and is like, "Oh no, I forgot your suitcase with your pajamas at the studio." And Holly shows up that moment going, "Hey, did you forget something?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's friend zoned so hard, though. He has no idea how much she loves him.
Well, she comes in, and while he's on the phone with his ex-wife, learning that she is going to be away for 6 months and he's going to need to take care of Zach, Holly's like, "Hey, Zach, how about I help you into your pajamas?" Which I thought was weird for a stranger to offer. And Zach agreed with me because it's really hard to hear, but I watched this twice for some reason. And the second time I heard him say, "Okay, you could stay for the top, but you have to leave for the bottoms."
Don't write that in your show.
So
yep,
please.
Very
please
weird
don't.
moment. Because I think they also had the moment where they were like, "We just asked a stranger, asked the kid if we can help change into his pajamas."
But they didn't have the moment where they said, "We could just delete everything that we just wrote."
No, they were using a typewriter. They couldn't go back. It was like, we already wrote it, so it's happening. But yeah, I don't know. The relationship, I think it largely comes down to Fred Newman. I do think, put a Kelsey Grammer in there. Maybe the conversations around, "Hey, we're not going to the farm tomorrow," could have a little bit more weight to them. Whereas in this, it just feels like the script was being read.
And I think if Zach had hated his dad throughout the whole thing and had been more actively, like, he obviously wants to spend so much time with him, but if
Zach
he
had been a little older,
I think if he had been a little, I was about to say the same exact thing. If he was a little bit older, still old enough to think the puppets were fun, but not so young that he was like too young. He was just too young. But also
could be fun if he was old enough to be like, "Ugh, my dad's this puppet guy."
But I think what has to happen for that last talk, not to be creepy with the puppets, is that he has to refuse to talk to his dad. He has to be like, "I don't want anything to do with you. You left us, you whatever." And then he has to be like, slowly like, "The puppet? Then there's me." But for him to be like, "I would love to talk to my dad," and for the dad to be like, I don't think I can talk to my kid. I don't think I want to. I think a puppet's got to handle this. That's just sad.
Yeah, there's hints of that where you get when he tells him he's not going to take him to the farm, he's like, "I want to go back.
I want to go back."
And you're like, "Oh shit!" Like, this kid hates you. But then
he doesn't.
It does kind of just easily come together.
Everybody loves this guy. Holly, Zach. They all want to be with him, but he's so emotionally unavailable.
I hope he figures it out.
I don't think he will. I think he's trapped.
He's just gonna be oblivious in every episode. Just like, "Wow, everyone's so mad at me."
There's
That's
never
weird.
like a love subplot or anything like that. He just ignores all of her advances for 6 seasons. And
there were some moments that made me legitimately laugh. The biggest one I can think of is when Zach shows up, Gary brings him in, and he's carrying a cow bank. And they're like, "Oh, you have a cow bank and a 2-pound Gouda and a knockwurst sampler." And Gary's like, "Oh yeah, the airport gift shop was the only thing that was open."
But why? What does that mean? What did he?
Because they're in Wisconsin, Sam.
What did he?
They
need to
got
buy
cheese
him
and
stuff
cows.
for,
That's
though?
it.
Was he buying him lunch or was he buying him presents? Is that what
I think he's buying his love.
I think it was love, but it also doesn't seem like he really cares about his love in general. Like, you don't need to do that. Yeah.
There's also a moment right after that where Bud comes in and gives Zach $10 to put in his bank, thinking it's Mitchell's son, the TV like exec guy, and then tries to get it back after he finds out it's actually just Gary's son. And Zach smacks the 10 down into the bank.
But even that's like the funniest part of the whole show, and even that is like 3 extra steps to making a joke that are just like, ugh.
I've seen this show twice. I watched it yesterday, and I genuinely do not remember that. Which I think says a lot about this show.
Yeah.
Well, the memory of it is funnier than the actual thing if you go back and watch it now. Because I will tell you, watching it the second time, you see there's like 2 edits in that moment because they couldn't get the timing of the kid smacking it down to be timed out well enough to work for the joke. And so you can tell they did it a few times and had to cut together something to make it a funnier moment. Because it's also like, it doesn't work, but I can see again how it could have worked.
I think to me the most interesting part of it, and I use the interesting very lightly, was the human version of the Miss Piggy Kermit relationship that the producer and Rita seem to have. But in human world, it's more sad and creepy. It's not as much fun.
It also, like you describing it as a Kermit and Miss Piggy relationship in human form, I'm like, you could do that interestingly.
Yeah.
They didn't, but you could.
Yeah, but it's just like I think there's always the undercurrent when we're talking about Muppet Show of Kermit is kind of a creep who is kind of like, especially in that context with Miss Piggy, is like taking advantage of her just as much as she's kind of like misunderstanding him and being manipulative of him. But in this, where it is clearly like this is a human man who is your boss, it is just like, I don't know. But you could, you're right. You could do it interestingly and like her using it for her gain, which she basically is doing.
Well, and again, because they're both older than most of the other people around them, like if they had been the originators of this show that's been on for 20 years, and all these new kids are coming in, adding to the show, and she's like, hey, I used to be the star here, but you used to let me get away with everything.
Right.
But because they've all just been doing this for only 6 months, there's a little less weight on the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the crux of this whole episode is when Zach is brought back with a stomach ache. We all think it might be appendicitis, but just ate too much ice cream.
Not. It's fine. Yeah.
He's fine. There's no problem.
It's nothing important or impactful at all.
Yeah.
The nurse is just going to take him back for 2 minutes into the back room. Yeah. I don't know. Ask him what he ate today.
Pump his stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure what happened
like
in the back.
Serve machine.
But the fact that like Gary doesn't even go back there with his kid.
Yeah. She maybe just said, what's wrong? And he said, I ate 2 pints of ice cream. And she said, all right.
That sounds like it's probably the problem. Maybe your kid's lactose intolerant and you just don't know that because you don't know anything about your kid, Gary.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you were a nurse and you saw this man walk in wearing that giant suit, I would not let him in there.
You got to stay here.
I assume the majority of her conversation with that child is, are you okay? Is that man your father?
Is that dragon your father?
And he would go, I don't know.
Because that's all he knows how to say. And also he does think the puppets are real. So
I will say something that did bother me in that scene is that he's using both hands of the puppet.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, what's going on with that head? How's that head working?
They switch between, I think, like a normal Big Bird style and then a parade Big Bird puppet style, where there's like a rod in the head to keep it upright so their arm isn't dying throughout a parade.
This is the best conversation I've ever had in my life.
That's not going to pass muster.
That's every week here, Patrick. This is what we do.
It's not going to pass the sniff test with Muppet heads like us. That's why the show didn't get picked up.
But you can see a little bit of there's like this like framing when they take off the costume at the very end.
I thought that was cool.
Of the
that was like my favorite part of the episode, actually, was seeing that puppet come off of him, all the different pieces. I thought it would
be funny if there was a moment though where he's got a normal Big Bird style thing where the other arm is useless and he goes to pick up his kid and just drops him.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I forget.
Yeah.
Or he puts both hands in the hands and the head just falls over.
Yeah.
Or he picks him up with the head.
With the head.
Oh sure.
And his head has to like pop out the top. Right.
Yeah, it's like when you see Jim like holding a microphone with Kermit's mouth.
Yes.
But way more disturbing if it's just the neck of this dragon picking up a small child. But yeah, there's again small moments where when he's coming into the hospital, his tail gets stuck in the door, and so when he's leaving the hospital, he does this like little quick shuffle out to make sure his tail doesn't get stuck again. And so there's jokes. They're in there.
I appreciate your effort to like this show and forgive it, Matt. I don't think it's necessary.
I just don't, I don't want to pile on it too much.
If Jim were here, he'd say, yeah, you're right. We should have given it another shot.
I think the most confusing thing plot-wise for me, which feels like maybe there was just a deleted scene they didn't have time for, is while we learn that this is a live TV show because it's happening while he's at the hospital with his kid, he's watching the show happen on TV, being like, I gotta get back. The whole sort of drama around the show is that Rita quits because Del hates her
Yeah.
and won't leave her alone and keeps mocking her as the puppets. And so she quits. And then Del is put in charge of getting Rita back to do the show. And we see them singing You Are My Sunshine together. But like, there's no indication of what he did to get her back. And I guess it's just, I agreed to sing with her on the show.
Yeah. And him kissing her butt probably could have been like the funniest scene of the show.
Right. But it just is like, they are back there, they're performing together, everything seems fine. Afterwards they compliment each other of like, hey, good job out there. And he genuinely seems to compliment her. And it's like, wait, but you had this grimace on your face the entire time, like you hated doing this puppet show or this song on the puppet show. So I just didn't like it's again, you could have not included that part of the story, but when you include the seed of it and then don't have the payoff, it just felt like something was missing.
It was a season-long arc, Matt. Then, yeah.
Matt is just saying he wishes they went back and reshot a real ending for this show, like they did for like the Twin Peaks pilot when it aired in Europe. You're just like, well, we got to wrap up all these plot lines that we set up.
Yeah, what if this had been an hour and a half long? Then it would have been better, right, guys?
Just an extra scene where the executive comes in and says, "You've been canceled. I'm so sorry."
And we're taking your son away from you.
And this nurse called Child Protective Services. So
gets real Mrs. Doubtfire-y.
Yeah. And that's when the show starts, because it's Gary in the van with the puppets, and then he's going nuts. He's losing his mind. He's talking to him. Everything's gone.
Del doesn't even exist.
Yeah, Del was never even there in the first place. That's right.
But yeah, the show just wraps up with Candle and Zach having a talk about Zach's future of living with his dad.
I hate that scene so much. I hate it so much.
This is not me defending it, but I will say there's a line in there that, had it been delivered better by a better child actor, could have been a laugh line, where Candle asks Zach, like, do you like Madison? And he's like, it's great. It has everything, even emergency rooms.
Matt,
but it's delivered so flat that there's nothing.
Matt, you don't have to say anything nice about the show, Matt. It's okay.
I know it's early in the morning and you think things are funny, but
I'm saying this is a solid like D show.
If
it could have been a C.
If a Mary Kate or an Ashley Olsen had delivered that line, they would have known how to do it.
We just need a
little baby Kelsey Grammer.
Or, yeah.
Now we're on to something.
Kelsey's playing the kid.
And the puppet. Really, the solution to this is to bring in America's sweetheart, Kelsey Grammer.
Mm-hmm.
We love him. A good, normal guy.
Yeah, definitely. Probably great in real life. No problems there.
Are you going to watch it again ever, Patrick?
Am I going to have to do another podcast about it at some point? Because I feel like the answer to that is a non-zero answer, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a 5% chance I'm going to have to talk about this on another podcast.
There's got to be a podcast about failed pilots, right?
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
Dead Pilot Society.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
But that's not produced ones. So like this wouldn't count for that.
Right.
If anyone out there has a podcast about Puppetman, I will go on. That is my one
They watch
rule.
Puppetman 30 seconds at a time and
Yeah.
discuss 30 seconds.
Yes. Yeah.
I honestly did look up your name Puppetman on Google to see if this is something you had talked about publicly before, because I was
I
like,
don't think so.
it feels like that would have happened.
100%. It feels like it. This feels very up my vibe.
Our new show, Puppetman Men. That's our spinoff.
Puppetman Men coming in hot.
But you asked us at the beginning what the worst thing we've watched is. This
Yeah.
is in the upper echelon of the worst things we've watched, in my opinion. Just because
I
it
don't know,
made me.
Matthew thought it was funny.
Matt thought it was hilarious. He was laughing his whole ass off the entire time.
I think there are like 5 well-written jokes that were delivered poorly. That's my review of this.
This made me so sad, and it felt so grimy and sad to me. It's just like, it was like the trappings of this family show with just like these creeping, very sad moments that just made the whole thing. Like, I watched it with my dad, and he was like, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And one of the moments
At the end, did he pick up a puppet and have a heart-to-heart with you?
Yeah, I turned around. He was behind the sofa like,
son, I have questions about what you're doing with your life. Why are you watching this
You
TV
need to
show?
stop doing this podcast. You want to move back in with your mom and I? We can work through this together. I'd love to, Dad.
Well, I will get us away from talking about my new favorite show, Puppetman, to ask both of you what non-Muppet things you enjoyed this week. Sam, you go first.
I'll go really fast. I still was watching. I mentioned it, all the Chucky movies. I don't even remember what the last one I talked about was, but if I already talked about...
I think on here you had just maybe watched or about to watch Bride of Chucky.
Okay, I watched Bride, Seed, Curse, and Cult of Chucky. The classic films. Seed of Chucky is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. It is in my opinion, a work of art. It's one of the most singular, strange things. I don't know. This is a talk about who is this for kind of thing, but you know exactly who it's for. But at the time, I feel like they couldn't say that it was like this camp masterpiece. It was a Chucky movie, but that's what it really is. And it's like for the man who's written, Dave Mancini, I think, who's written every Chucky movie. Don Mancini, who's written every Chucky movie. It is for him, and that's fine. Like, that's more than enough. But then Curse of Chucky is fine, but Cult of Chucky is also great. I was just blown away by how great that movie is. It's like, takes place in like an asylum, and Chucky's kind of hunting down people and like trying to get revenge on somebody from his past. But it's like the kills are gross, but Chucky's so funny, and other people in it are so funny. And Jennifer Tilly is popping up in every movie, and it shouldn't work that Jennifer Tilly is there playing herself being possessed by the ghost of a murderer. But it just works every time for some reason. And yeah, so I'm going to start watching the TV show next, which just got canceled, which, you know, is fine. At least there's an end in sight now. But yeah, I just have become such a Chucky head, and I was not expecting it at all. But he's like the slasher I've always been looking for, I feel like, is Chucky. And I'd like to be his friend if he wasn't a murderer also.
Patrick, what non-Puppet Man things did you enjoy this week?
Well, I really enjoyed Puppetman. No, I saw... I went to a screening of, my friend Morgan Evans directed a movie called Micro Budget. And it's a movie with a lot of very funny comedians, Bobby Moynihan, Chris Parnell, Maria Bamford, just like a ton of really great people about a guy shooting a movie for extremely cheap. And it's truly one of the funniest movies I've seen in a very long time. I think they're doing like festival rounds now with it, and it'll probably be out for people to see soonish, but keep an eye out. Micro Budget. I think it's really good.
That sounds great.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I went to New York this past week, and I saw a little musical called Moulin Rouge.
Oh,
which was amazing. And we had like the closest possible seats. And so the actors are just like right up in our faces. Aaron Tveit, who everyone is in love with. I am not a Broadway head, so I was unaware of the love of this man. But there were many a woo from the audience, which not
like
necessarily appropriate.
Woo?
Yeah, like just like he's belting his heart out, and then there's just like a whoo, like an exasperated, sexy woo, like a woman needed a cigarette in the audience after he was singing.
Is he the not Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the guy who looks like Is he Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yes.
Okay.
You got confused because he doesn't have a beard in that movie.
Yeah.
He looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi, but something's missing.
Did you think it was Jude Law?
Yes. Those two I get confused all the time.
Yeah.
I could.
And now Jude is going to be in a Star Wars, so I'm going to be even more confused.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Obi-Wan's back? Great. Where's his beard? But yeah, no, that was actually, this was my first time ever going to New York. This was my first ever Broadway play.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you liked it?
Yeah, loved it. I've seen like, touring shows of Hamilton and Wicked and things like that. So I've seen Broadway level productions, but never actually on Broadway.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It's a jukebox musical, so it's much like the movie,
right?
But more songs than the movie even has weaved together. So it's a fun time.
My first Broadway play was King Kong the musical.
Amazing. With the giant inflatable monkey?
Yeah, the monkey was great.
That didn't last much longer than after you saw it, right?
Nope. No, it did not.
Oh, where do you think that monkey is now?
He's got an office job in Chicago. He had to move back.
Copywriting.
Yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, I got to let you know what we're watching next time. And I've been dreading this one for a while because next time
wow.
we are headed into the fall of 1987. And with the fall comes brand new animated television series. That's right. It's Fraggle Rock, the animated
no. It's already time to
series.
desecrate the memory of Fraggle Rock.
It is. They didn't spend too long. The dirt is still fresh on the grave,
tears
and now they're going to
haven't
dance upon it.
Oh, no.
Dancing their cares away.
And, you know, because we've not heard super promising things about the series, we're going to rush through this one a little faster than we do most shows. We're still going to watch all of it, which was probably a mistake, but we're going to cover all of it over the next 2 episodes. So next week, we'll discuss the first 6 episodes of the series, which all include 1 to 2 segments within them. Most of them are broken down into 2 11-minute segments, but the first one is a full-length arc. So the segments we will be watching are titled No Fraggle is an Island, Big Trouble for a Little Fraggle, Necessity is a Fraggle of Invention, The Great Radish Roundup, Lucky Fargy.
Ew.
Don't know who Fargy is.
That's going to be the best one.
That sounds disgusting.
A Fraggle for All Seasons, A Growing Relationship,
Okay.
The Best of the Best, Where No Fraggle Has Gone Before, Gobo's Song, and Wembley and the Bemble.
Oh my god.
That's
I
too
hate
many
this.
segments to watch.
That's a lot, Matt. That was a lot. I hate you.
I mean, it's only 3 hours of your life, Sam.
I suppose. Yeah.
Just
3
to
hours
watch
I
a Lord
could
of
be
the
spending
Rings
with my wife.
Tell her you've got more important things to do, like watch The Great Radish Roundup or A Fraggle for All Seasons.
Babe, I gotta watch Wembley and the Bimble. Leave me alone.
Well, before we get out of here, Patrick, where would you like people to find you on the internet? As we alluded to, you do a lot of things.
I know.
Obviously, the George Lucas Talk Show, but is there else, other places you'd like people to check out?
Yeah, you can find George Lucas Talk Show all on YouTube. We have a show. When does this come out?
What a great question. Around October 14th.
Okay. If you're in New York City this week, Friday, we're going to be at the Bell House in Brooklyn. As of now, unless anything changes, the guests are H. John Benjamin from Archer and Bob's Burgers, Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome from Star Trek Lower Decks.
Wow.
Saturday, I think at 3:15, we're going to be at New York Comic Con. We're going to have a full show there with a bunch of cool guests. November 9th, we're going to be at the Smodcastle Cinemas in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey with guest Evan Smith.
Checks out.
So that'll
Makes
be very
sense.
fun. Yeah.
You didn't have to go too far. Yeah.
We have some more shows coming up after that. November 16th, if you're in LA, or you can stream this. I've been doing live reads of the Star Wars movies at Dynasty Typewriter here in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
I follow so many people online who are involved in those things, and I've never been more jealous of the people I know who live in LA of those events.
They're very fun. They're very, very fun. We're doing Revenge of the Sith November 16th. Tickets might be gone by the time this goes up. I'm not sure, but mustafarla.com, you can get them. You can also live stream them from anywhere in the frickin' world, so you can do that too. What else? Instagram at Cotnoir, Twitter at Patrick Cotnoir. If you're in LA, you can come see Ask Cat at UCB on Sunday nights. I produce those. And I've got a podcast coming out probably fairly soon to when this comes out. So just keep an eye out. And it's very exciting and it's very cool.
Is it a Muppet podcast?
Some weeks it may be a Muppet podcast. We have not said what the show's premise is just yet, but there is opportunity for a lot of Muppet stuff.
But you're working with somebody who is Muppet adjacent for sure.
That's true. My co-host on it is Brian Lynch, who wrote the Minions movies and Secret Life of Pets and all that, and also wrote a Muppet movie that he sold to the Henson Company. That was not made, but it's a very good script. So it's going to be fun.
Well, we definitely encourage everyone to go check those out, especially if you are in LA and able to see things live. But thank you again, Patrick, for
of course
gracing us with your presence.
Thank you for having me. Would love to come back anytime.
Muppet Babies?
No. Well, maybe we'll talk about Muppets Go to Walt Disney World. That could be a good one.
There you go.
That's a big
We'll let you have a good time next time.
Yeah.
Well, we want to also thank Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com for all your commitment needs. And while you're listening to this podcast, you can rate and review us on your platform of choice, like this recent 5-star review from Toonheads, who said, hilariously insightful, controlled chaos at its finest. Wow. This is one of my new favorite podcasts. The rapport between co-hosts is both hilarious and wholesome. I just can't get enough of this show and the love y'all have for the Muppets and Rolf especially, since he's my personal favorite Muppet too. Yeah. Plus, to be honest, seeing y'all losing it over Muppet Babies is so funny. I can't wait for more. If you want to email us, you can do that at mail@commitment.com. If you have any questions or links to secret unseen Muppet things that we haven't been able to find, you can follow this podcast everywhere on social media at Commitment Pod. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.